part of the public voice band that do Persian rock music.
Iranian.
Oh, sorry, Iranian rock music, sorry.
No.
everyone. Thank you for being here. We've gathered here to discuss revolutionary art. by the Ehsan Hazaveh or Woman Life Freedom Revolution. This art is crafted to convey a powerful message, captivate us and prompt contemplation of something greater than ourselves, that our collective humanity is in danger. Revolutionary art is meant to shake us and compel us to recognize that ultimately we are all one, with a responsibility to humanity. Let me introduce our panelists today. We've got Ehsan Hazaveh, whose amazing photos surround us. You can see all his photos around. Ehsan is an independent Iranian photographer based in Auckland, Aotearoa, New Zealand. He has over a decade of experience in documentary and commercial photography. Since 2010, his works have been featured in high-profile publications such as The Guardian, Art New Zealand, Stuff, New Zealand Herald, New Zealand Lifestyle, and Organic New Zealand magazine. His work has exhibited at the Portrait Gallery and Kotakan Museum in Prairie Road. Ehsan holds a PhD in Media Studies from Victoria University of Wellington and an MFA from the University of Tehran. He was the first student to pursue a practice-based PhD in Media Studies in New Zealand. He has been awarded the Wellington International Student Excellence Award in the Creativity category in 2021 and the Postgrad Research Excellence Award from Victoria University of Wellington in 2019. Sahar Fanian, whose brilliant short documentary is being shown in that small dark room in here. Make sure you watch it. It's a 10-minute documentary. Sahar is an emerging Iranian-Canadian documentary maker dedicated to highlighting social issues and sharing stories of individuals striving for positive change. Sahar has an undergraduate degree in film studies and a master's in public health. Her first short documentary profiles Hana Habibi, one of the key activists behind Wellington's Woman Life Freedom movement. Sahar is currently working on a documentary and on documenting more stories of the inspiring women behind the movement as part of a larger project called Women Rising. She lives in Wellington and is currently doing the TA trail from Bluff to Cape Ranga. We've got our last panelist here, Bahman Khalili. Bahman, who along with his brother Reza, founded the Public Voice Band and created the revolutionary song that we just heard, and we will play also at the end of today's panel. Bahman was born in 1977, so you all know how old he is, in Tehran. He started playing drums when he was 17 years old in progressive rock style. Alongside playing drums, he also studied veterinary. This is why English hasn't improved after 25 years. I still can't pronounce it. Medicine at the university. He and his brother Reza organized and performed at many large concerts in and outside Iran, including in Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Malaysia. He's currently studying film and TV production at UB in Wellington. The brothers went through a lot of harassment and intimidation while in Iran by the regime forces, including imprisonment, being drugged, and much more. So let's start. Are you ready?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, this is a heavy subject, of course, right? I clearly remember the times after Gina Mahsa Amini got killed in 2022. Our
sorry.
lives, yeah.
Now I need interpreter. Can you please read Abbas? Because I woke up with the fire alarm this morning.
That's okay.
And, yeah.
Okay. our lives basically turned upside down overnight when she got killed. We finally had enough of the atrocities and brutality of the regime, and we all wanted the world to hear our voices. Can you tell us how you felt in the aftermath of Gina's death, killing by the regime, and the emotional impact that it had on you as an artist? What inspired you to then create your art, the photography, the film, the music? What were you trying to achieve? Maybe we'll start from Ehsan first.
Yeah, I think to answer the first part of it, when we all heard this news, to be honest, it wasn't something new because this thing's like happening in Iran, but we see it like a kind of as a normalcy, because when these things happen all the time around you and say, hey, we live in Iran anyway, right? And then you forget about your basic human and civil right over time, we keep repeating. But I think after that event, Gina and Masa Emini, got basically killed, we reached to a point that say that like enough is enough, we need to do something about it. And then for that reason, we need to also see the future. Like we need to have this vision of what our world can be, if not this is the case, And then so I feel that like artists like play a really important role to create that vision, because without that vision, we cannot, head toward any direction, We need to see that, okay, like this is the right way of living, and then now we can like take a step toward that direction. So was it an answer to your question? What inspired me? So like before that, I've had a couple of exhibitions. I think like 4 or 5 exhibitions, but mostly representing immigrants and refugees. But for my work was more of the like experimental. I wanted to learn from other, minor groups, and I wanted to document my journey of learning from others rather than representing them, if it makes any sense. But this one, I think this is my first exhibition that it's more political, and because the reason for it is that as an artist, I couldn't just like be passive, I think I have a medium to capture some of the stories, and then I had to do it. I didn't like think far too ahead that like this exhibition gonna change like a big what, but like when we can do something, we should do it. Regardless of the outcome. Some stories needed to be told, and then I had to do it. So, and also on a personal level, when you do your bit, it's just like you feel a bit better. Like it made my life a little bit more livable. Because you cannot carry on just exposing to all those negative outcomes. Like all of us, like because of those. Like executions, we couldn't even just like, I don't want it to wake up, because I know if I wake up and I open my phone, like, few people of us are missing, so, yeah.
What about you, Sahar?
Yeah, I think similar to all of us and many Iranians, when Mahsa Amini was killed and all the protests and revolts happened in Iran, it really shook me and saddened me. And I think being a second generation Iranian, so I was born in Canada, my parents are Iranian, I was sad for this beautiful country that I've actually never had a chance to go to because it's run by an oppressive regime. And that forced my parents out as well. So, I was watching the news and going to all the protests here, and I really felt impacted seeing women on the streets fighting for what is a basic human right. But I think at the same time, I could also see, like many of us, that I guess it was a breaking point as well. And I think, the response was really huge and somewhat unprecedented. We haven't seen something like this since the revolution in 1979. And I think also we haven't seen a global response like this for people all over the world, like all corners of the globe were taking to the streets and protesting. And so simultaneously I was sad, but it also gave me a sense of hope that actually this might be the thing that changes Iran. And I think similar to Ehsan, I felt like, I don't want to be a passive observer. I thought we actually really need to document this. This is a moment in time in our collective history that we should be documenting. And so I think there's a few reasons why I was, compelled to make this film. Obviously, Mahsa Amini being killed and the protests was really the catalyst behind it. But I think as a woman, gender equality and freedom of choice are issues that, I care deeply about. Like I said, what happened to Mahsa Amini didn't happen in isolation. Women in Iran have been fighting for their right, for their basic human right for the last 50 years. But I think what's different is all of a sudden now the world was paying attention and people cared. And so I think I wanted to use my camera and film. I think it's a really powerful tool, actually. It was an opportunity to shed light on the issue. And I wanted people to know about the experiences and stories of everyday Iranian women. The struggles, the oppression that they're facing, but their defiance and their strength in the face of oppression. And I think also on a personal level, I felt kind of compelled to make a film about this topic because my parents were forced to leave Iran after the revolution. So they were both documentary filmmakers. They were working for national TV. And then the Islamic Republic came into power. Revolution happened, the Islamic Republic came into power. My dad was fired from the TV station for being Baha'i. And those of you that don't know, Baha'is are heavily persecuted in Iran by the regime. And my mom, being a female director, also experienced a lot of struggles. They tried to control the content of what she was making, particularly stories about women, how she dressed, how she behaved. And so she was also forced to flee. So I think for me, telling a story was, telling Hannah's story, it felt like a personal one as well, because it's about gender discrimination and her struggles and overcoming that, but also the story of immigration, what it's like to be forced to leave a country that you love. So I think it's important to tell that, and I think it's a story that a lot of the diaspora can relate to. So I think it's something within this context of what was happening. I actually thought, people are listening, we need to be telling these stories. How about you?
مهسا امینی وقتی کشته شد که انقلاب ایران رخ داد.
Mahsa Amini was murdered when the revolution was happening.
وقتی که ما این موزیک رو که شنیدین، شعرش رو 25 سال پیش با برادرم نوشتیم و یکی از موزیکایی شد که باعث شد که ما بریم به زندان.
The song that you just heard when we started was a song that we wrote 25 years ago, and one of the reasons that we were sent to the prison.
ما وقتی فهمیدیم که آزادی تو ایران نداریم، نوجوان بودیم و دنبال موزیک راک میگشتیم و یه مقدار با جامعه‌مون متفاوت بودیم و اینکه شروع کردیم با موزیک ساختن، مخصوصا موزیک راکیه که یه موزیک اعتراضی هست برای مبارزه و کسب آزادی.
Was when we were teenagers that we realized that we don't have freedom in Iran, and then that was the point that we started to think about how we can protest, and music was a platform for us to do this.
مهسا و زنهای دیگه‌ای که به واسطه انقلاب کشته شدند آزادیشون گرفته شد و ما هم بعدش توسط رژیم ایران 20 سالمون بود که اجرای کنسرت داشتیم و از زندان انداختن و بیهوشمون کردن، ما رو هم همون موقع کشتن.
Mahsa and other women that were killed during these protests were killed because of not having freedom, and we were the same. Like when 20 years ago we were sent to the prison because of our art, we were also murdered.
و بعد من و رضا تصمیم گرفتیم که این راه ادامه بدیم، از هیچی نترسیدیم و وقتی هم که از ایران فرار کردیم خب اتهامای زیادی به اون بستن مثل شیطان پرستی و چیزهای دیگه و دعوت مردم به فساد و فحشا و اینجور چیزها و تصمیم گرفتیم که بدون ترس، چون دیگه ترسمون هم ریخته بود تو ایران، که به مبارزمون ادامه بدیم تا وقتی که خیلی شرایط سختی هم داشتیم تو این راه و تصمیم گرفتیم به مبارزمون ادامه بدیم و بعد از مرگ مهسا ما این موزیک که فقط تو کنسرت‌ها اجرا کرده بودیم به صورت استودیویی ضبط کردیم.
I and my brother Reza were kind of like at the time started to think that it's time for us not to be afraid, because we were accused of disrupting people's minds in Iran and disrupting the modesty in Iran, and that was the time that we decided that there is no time for us to be scared anymore. So we decided to protest, continue to protest via our music, and after Mahsa Amini's murder, it was the time that we decided that we need to work on this song again in the studio this time and release this time, because this one was played only in concerts before, and after the revolution we decided to record it in the studio.
در آخر همیشه هم خوشحال هستیم کسایی رو می‌بینیم که مبارزه میکنن، به مبارزهشون ادامه میدن، مثل احسان که نمایشگاه عکسشو همه رو برقرار میکنه و ما خوشحال میشیم که یعنی هی انرژی میگیریم برای مبارزه با رژیم ایران.
And I'm so happy that we have artists such as Ehsan, who is having his exhibitions around New Zealand and continue protesting with their art.
Thanks.
Thank you. And he also said that you were told that you were following the Satan way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite sad. The level of oppression in Iran is huge, as we know by now. Particularly ethnic communities like our Kurds, the Kurdish community, the Baluchis, heavily persecuted by the Iranian regime. A second layer of oppression on the ethnic communities and religious minorities, as Sahar talked about. And basically having an opposing opinion threats their lives for some reason, threats their power. But the Islamic Republic of Iran really has got a very long and troubling history of suppressing artistic expression in particular, particularly when it challenges the status quo. The recent Women Life Freedom Revolution has seen this oppression intensify, as we just heard. The stories of Tumaj Salehi, you may have heard about Tumaj Salehi, a rapper sentenced to prison for his music and activism. Mehdi Yarahi, who faced legal repercussions for criticizing mandatory hijab in Iran and through his songs. Actresses like Katoyun Riyahi and Azadeh Samadi penalized for the support of women's rights and defiance against compulsory hijab again. and exemplify the risks artists endure. And many actresses have been banned from acting for mere reason of removing their headscarves. The Iranian state's response to the protests following Jina Mahsa Amini's murder, tragic death in custody, a crackdown on artists like Daniel Muqaddam, an actor, writer, and singer, Mohammad Sadiqi, an actor, Hania Tabassuli, who is an actress, and tens of others who have been vocal in their support of the revolution. These all highlight the system's relentless attempt to suppress and silence dissenting voices. All these imprisoned people, what role have they really played in your life, really? Like, do you feel you have a responsibility toward them? If you start maybe from Bahman, because you're one of the...
من میتونم بگم که من رضا بعد از انقلاب اولین موزیسینایی بودیم که به زندان افتادیم.
I can tell you that I and my brother Reza were the first musicians in Iran post-revolution that were sent to prison because of our music.
خیلی سخت میگذره وقتی که هنرمندا رو میندازن تو زندان و با یه سیاستی اون هنرمندا رو تو جامعه ما خرابشون میکنن، حالا به واسطه دراگ، الکل یا اخبارایی که خودشون دوست دارن یا اینکه غرب رو فالو میکردن. مثلا مثل اینکه یکی از اتهامات ما این بود که با اسرائیل در ارتباط هستیم.
It's so difficult for us to see that the state is trying to accuse the artists of being related to Israel. Like they told us that you are related to Israel, or you are doing drugs or alcohol, just because they want to falsify in their people's mind what the artists are doing.
اسمایی که الان آیدا نام بردم جز اسمایی هستن که مشهورن. من الان دوستایی رو دارم که تو ایران آندرگراوند راک پلی میکردن، الان یه سریشون گرفتن زندانن و یه سریشون به واسطه وثیقه خیلی سنگین از زندان بیرون هستن و با همسالی مثل من تماس میگیرن که چطور از ایران فرار کنن، چون دیگه راهی براشون نیستش و اونهایی که معروف نمیشن خیلی باشون بدتر عمل میکنن برای زندان نگه داشتن. چون چند تا اسم آوردیم که معروفه اومده، ولی کسای دیگه هستن که اصلا معروف نشدن و اونا رو تو زندان نگه داشتن و اونا خیلی خطرناکه براشون.
The names that Aida just read, these are famous people, these are famous artists, but I have many friends who are not that famous and they are either in prison or on bail with heavy bails, like millions of and this is more difficult for those less famous artists, and they are in contact with us and sometimes asking us how we can escape Iran.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bahman, for sharing that, because we know that you've been in prison and it's quite hard and you see things from a different lens. Yeah. What about you, Sahar? What do you think? Do you feel a responsibility? Did you feel a responsibility?
Yes, I definitely feel a strong sense of responsibility, and I think part of it is, I think, we need to acknowledge the bravery of people like Bahman and those that are in Iran and those that kind of have strong connections to Iran and have spoken out and have serious fears and repercussions for doing so. Whereas I've had, I can acknowledge my privilege. I grew up in a country and live in a country where I'm safe to speak out. And I think that makes it all the more important that I do use my voice and my camera to do that. you know, I don't face the same risks. So I think there's that definite sense of responsibility. And I think in my film, I wanted to kind of pay tribute to that a bit, because there's a song that plays, it's by Hajipur, he wrote Badaye, which really became like an anthem for the movement, and he was arrested.
It's used in your documentary as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. And you know, it's an anthem for the movement, but he also was arrested afterwards for writing it. So I think, you know, I wanted to pay tribute to that. Yeah, and there's a lot of Iranian filmmakers that, you know, before the revolution, or before what's happening now, you know, they continue to critique the government and have been silenced for it, or are trying to be silenced for it. So I was very much inspired by them as well.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, you two talking and you covered most of it, but I just want to add a bit. Like, I was thinking that I don't want to categorize artists by those who are imprisoned and those who are free. You know, to me, I like my role model are those who speak out, you know, regardless of the consequences. Sometimes I feel that being in prison is even better than be outside, because when you are in prison, you have your people behind you, whereas if you are outside, you know, you lose even like the people supporting you somehow, you know, and not all the, you know, and then. I want to say something I forgot. Yeah, and you know, I always try to just follow those who speak out, you know. And some people, it's just so random, you know. Some people think that living in Iran is that the moment that you speak out, you end up in jail. It's not like that, right? So it's like, it's the fear of telling, you know, and sharing your opinion is with you, but it doesn't mean that it always happened to you. You know, and then the government wants that because they want to have this like token, the moment that, oh, there's no freedom in Iran, and then they point out a couple of artists, hey, they you know, share their story, right? But the fear is open, and then they use this fear against you, you know. They have something to, you know, to limit your, you know, actions, you know, because you know, you may speak out for 10 years, you know, but the moment that they want, you know, they said that like, hey, you cannot do that because of your background of 10 years, you know. So that's why I try to not see it as that, you know, imprisonment and like being free.
Yeah.
But
still I feel like it's a reality that there are lots of people, artists in the prison for speaking out. And I agree with you that the ones outside are constantly being intimidated, you know, being put under pressure. All their certifications, you know, to play something is cancelled. They have to go through lots of different loops every time they want to play music. They go underground, as Bahman said, they're under a lot of pressure. And the regime has been successful to a degree to create that fear in people so that they don't speak out. But as we saw in 2022, the whole country erupted finally against that. And we've had thousands of people protesting and stuff.
I just want to add something that like, it's not all the options always between bad and good. Sometimes it's between two goods or bad and worse. You know, as an artist, you need to say that, okay, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna end up in jail. Or you say that, you know, I just slow down a little bit and then try to have my influence, but I'm outside, you know. So sometimes like, it's really, really hard decisions, you know. It's not always that like, you need to be playful a bit, you know. Because if you go to prison, you know, as Bahman mentioned, that if you're lucky, you get voice, you know, out. And then there are small number of people, you know, get their voice, you know. Like so many people end up in jail, but like we know a couple of names.
Yeah, I think
right?
we need to talk about the root of it all, isn't it? Which is that oppression put onto people. That they do arrest some people, they don't arrest some other people, but that oppression and that restriction on people is what we're fighting against. Just taking everything back to the art. Based on your work, I can see that you believe that art has got the power to convey a humanitarian and political message. So what you've created and stuff. Would you like to elaborate a bit more on that? Whoever that wants to start.
Yeah, to me, any form of art, it can be music, writing, making movie, is a medium to help people again to visualize the stuff, And then and because of that, it's not something separate. Even like people say that art can empower civil right and the human right, but I think to me it's not separate. I myself hate media and politics, right? But there's no way to avoid it. As an artist, you are in it. You cannot say that hey, I'm an artist, but I don't want to just have any positionality of anything, So to me, these two are basically the same. Yeah, and if you're lucky, we master one of the mediums. It's writing, photography, or whatever, and then through that we tell stories, and speak out.
Yeah.
من فکر می‌کنم دو نوع هنر داریم، دو نوع هنرمند. یکی که در مقابل مشکلات جامعه یا حکومت وای میسته. یه هنر دیگه داریم که برای حکومت و برای جامعه کار میکنه.
I think we have two kinds of art and two types of artists. One is those artists who speak out against the system, strict system, and those who work for the system.
و اون چیزی که برای خود من مهمه همیشه از هنرم نمیتونه سوا از مشکلاتی باشه که برای مردم جامعه هم وجود داره. ممکنه که تو نیوزلند الان دارم زندگی میکنم و یک چیزی تو نیوزلند رو مخم بره، انگلیسیش هست، یه چیزی رو مخم بره و اینکه راجع به اون یه موزیکی بسازیم. فرق نمیکنه که اون هنرمندی که واقعی داره عمل میکنه کجای دنیا قرار میده.
And I think art is never separate from what problems that people are facing wherever you live. So it doesn't matter. Now that I'm living in New Zealand, if something I don't like something and people are having some problems, I will respond to that through my art.
Yeah, thanks.
I think these two covered it, but very much I agree with the fact that you can't really separate art and politics. I don't think. I strongly believe art has a lot of power to get a political message across. And I guess if we look at artistic movements through history, they're always in response or reaction to the political, social, or cultural context of the time, what people were experiencing. And I think simultaneously art has that power to influence a political outcome or social outcome and can be used as a pretty powerful tool for change. And you've talked about all the people in Iran that have been imprisoned, but that's a perfect example of that. The regime actively targets artists, writers, and musicians because they know art is a powerful way of critiquing the regime. And this has been going on since the revolution. They created the Ministry for Culture and Islamic Guidance with the idea of controlling media, banning art, forms of art, books, films that aren't in line with Islamic values.
They're Islamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Their version.
And I think, Iranian cinema, I think, is a really, really good example of how political film and art can be, because Iranian filmmakers are really skillful at using really like ambiguous, beautiful imagery, but using a lot of poetry and allegory to talk about pretty like forbidden or taboo topics, and actually like subverting pretty repressive ideologies. There's directors like Mahmoud Panahi, Shirin Neshat, Kiarostami, and Furugh Saad that have all kind of made films that have critiqued the government and critiqued that kind of social political situation in Iran, and the government's tried to silence them for that. So I think, you know, I think those are all examples of why, especially in Iran, you know, art and film is very, very political.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of you may have heard about this very powerful paramilitary system in Iran called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And we all know that there are agents all around the world intimidating Iranian dissidents for speaking out. And their cyber army is actually quite powerful. They are all over the social media attacking those who protested around the world, the leaders of them, trying to separate them from each other. Specific, you know, some people who are following the previous, you know, dictatorships, the present types of dictatorship. I don't know, any type of definition of the dictatorship. They want to bring that back into Iran, so they try to separate us from each other and stuff. Did you have any fears or any considerations when you're in outer New Zealand, you're safe, I guess, but are we safe from the IRGC agents? Did you have any fear, and how did you deal with it?
هنر واقعی خب خیلی قدرتمنده، مثل ارتش میمونه.
The real art is really powerful. It works like an army.
یادم میاد اولین بار که انداختم زندان، وقتی تو زندان خیلی هم اذیتمون میکردن، هر روز بهمون میگفتن، حالا من رضا برادر بودیم.
And I remember when the first time that we were sent to prison, I and my brother were harassed on a daily basis.
هر روز اونی که شکنجه میکرد میومد مثلا میگفت امروز به تو 80 ضربه شلاق میخوام بزنم، مثلا فردا میومد داداشم میگفت 80 ضربه شلاق به تو میزنم، همینجوری با شکنجه روحی میدادن.
And so they used to tell us like different lies, and so telling us we're going to give you 70, 80 lashes, and like psychologically harass us.
بعد من رضا از زندان که آزاد می شدیم، وکیلمون به اصطلاح با قید وثیقه می اومدیم بیرون از زندان رجایی شهر کرج. یه دکه یه شاپی اون روبرو بود، می رفتیم سیگار برگ می خریدیم، سیگار برگ رو می کشیدیم و قدرتمندتر میگفت از فرداش تمرین‌ها رو با بچه‌ها شروع می‌کردیم برای اجرای بعدی.
And when we were released from prison on bail, I remember like in Karaj, there was a shop that we used to go after we were released, and we smoked our cigars and planned to be responding more powerfully to the system.
هی زندان رفتیم، هی تهدید بسیجی‌ها، امام جمعه کرج، دادستان و ما باز اجرا گذاشتیم. زندان رفتیم، بیهوشمون کردن، ترکیه رفتیم، سفارت، مالزی، مامورای سفارت تو برنامه هامون، شاید هم تو نیوزلند. ولی این هنر قدرتی داده که از هیچ چیز دیگه ما نمی‌ترسیم.
We were sent to prison so many times and were released, and we were poisoned and harassed. When we escaped from Iran, in Turkey, Azerbaijan, Malaysia, we were harassed by embassy personnel, and even here they think that we are also under their surveillance, but art is more powerful than everything, so we are not scared.
و تا وقتی هم ادامه میدیم که این میتونم تشبیه کنم به حکومت ایران و به سر مار. وقتی دم مار رو بزنی باز مار حرکت میکنه میاد دنبالت، ولی تا وقتی که این سر مار زده نشه و نمیره ما به مبارزه ادامه میدیم.
And I can liken the Islamic Republic regime in Iran to a snake, and we need to cut the head of the snake so that like as long as they are there, they will keep harassing people.
Thanks.
Does anybody else want to add anything, or should we move to the...
Yeah, I think I just want to say that like the same as Bahman, as that the consequences, like anything can happen to you, it's just like, and it's the level of fear and psychological, someone may call you and say that, oh, how's your family doing? And just like you start shaking, and this was one level, but at the same time, another fear or challenge of making this exhibition is that how to tell the story, because we are in the context of New Zealand, and not many people know Iran, and then so like before Mahsa Amini, we all as Iranian wanted to protect our identity, because we said, hey, lots of stereotypes are on us. I remember that like one of my friends got a house here, and then the landlord said that, oh, you don't need to wash your clothes by the river. We have this device, and then you can put your clothes in it, and then press this button, and voila. And then so we need to protect that identity that like, hey, we are educated, blah 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 blah. And at the same time, we wanted to have this kind of exhibition, because like any other country, it's just like. So to distinguish the government and people was the most challenging thing, I wanted to know that how can I protect my identity, if you come to this exhibition and this is the only source of information that you have, you try to envisage Iran some sort of thing, but like we all see, for example, American Psycho that happens in America, but you don't think that all Americans are psycho, because you have love story, you have like all sort of thing, that makes us human. And then so to me is that we're fighting for freedom, right? And then we also practicing multiculturalism, and then in doing so, if we get to know each other, we can like we less harm each other, because if I know you well, I cannot harm you like the way. So this if we like having this exhibition, if we bring and then having a platform so that we can talk and get to know each other, it's a very, very valuable thing. So that was my two, fear.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like these two covered, especially Bahman's story. It's incredibly powerful. But I think the only thing I have to say is like, all artists have some, especially in this context, we all have some level of fear, consideration, and some are incredibly extreme. In my case, it's literally that, I've never been to Iran. I would love to go someday, but, having done this, I don't think that, it would be quite risky to go. But I think what kind of binds all of us is that, you keep doing this and speaking out because you have faith that actually this will lead to change, and that, hopefully it becomes a country that is wonderful and beautiful and safe again for everyone to visit, and where artists can speak out without having to think about these things.
Maybe I can start with you again on the next question. It's all linked to each other, I guess. Do you believe that art and civil human rights or human rights activism can empower each other? And if so, do you have any suggestions on how this can be achieved?
Yes, absolutely. As I talked about before, I think art is a very, very powerful tool in human rights activism and social change. It's a tool that we can use to advocate for something, to raise awareness, to have those conversations, but like you said, to imagine a better future or a dystopic future. And you know, it kind of makes us feel and think, and it brings that human side and the stories to an issue. And I guess for me, I always think about that famous photo of Alan Kurdi, the 3-year-old boy that was washed up on the shore of the Mediterranean when him and his family tried to cross over. That single photo sparks a global response to the refugee crisis. It sparked a lot of outrage, emotion. The world started to pay attention to the issue of refugees. Countries started to step up and accept more refugees. So if we think about that, we'll think about the testament. It's a testament to the power of what a single image can do and say. And so I think that's an example of, you know, what that art is really a tool for change and social action. In terms of suggestions, I've also thought a lot about this. I think for someone who works in the public service, like a lot of people in Wellington, but also engages in art and creativity, I really think we need to make more space for art and decision making and politics. I think papers and reports and numbers, they're useful, but I don't think that they appeal to people's hearts. And I think these issues that we've been talking about, they're not devoid of emotion. So I think art's a really powerful way of telling a story that people can connect with, and you know, getting people to rally behind a cause and to understand an issue. So I absolutely think we need to make more space for it in everywhere, particularly in decision making and politics. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you covered most of it, but because you brought this Alan Kurdi's photo, I think I need to add that I think consistency is the key, you know, because when you look back at it, you know, the picture of Alan Kurdi, you know, was just like, because of that, like so many things happened, like around that time, you know, and then like huge amount of like fun, you know, and then so many other things. But in the long term, nothing happened. You know, and then we forgot about it, you know. And then so consistency is the key. And then we sometimes replace one thing to another. Afghanistan happened, forgot about it, and then Ukraine, and then like Iran, and then we replace it with like now Palestine, and completely forgot about, forget about other things, So like and then we remember that the picture of the Alan, like there was a recent interview with his father, I said that like it was really disappointing, and nothing really happened. Just a small period of time, like he and his family got the attention, and then, but at the end, nothing happened. So I think we need to, push hard and then like, continue.
Keeping it on people's minds through art. That's the best way, isn't it?
آره متاسفانه هنر خیلی میتونه کمک کنه به همه چی تو دنیا، هر جای دنیا، برای